everybody, and welcome to our business journey interview. I am Camille Leon. I am the founder and CEO of the Holistic Chamber of Commerce. For those of you who are new to our interviews, yes, this is Brad Pitt. He has been feeling hounded by the paparazzi, so he just asked if he could hang out with me for a few days and kind of get away from all that muss and fuss. And of course, we're interviewing Karen Sachs today, and she is an artist, a personal discovery guide. She's all about creativity and playfulness. So of course, I thought that Brad should be here with us. Karen's art has a unique style that blends creativity and curiosity to indulge her creative needs and your creative needs and help you gain insights as you permit yourself to play through painting with her. As a personal discovery guide, Karen has created Paint Your Essence workshops that allow creative souls to learn about themselves through their art. She facilitates group Paint Your Essence workshops, one-on-one sessions, and corporate events. Since COVID, Karen has been conducting her events online and is now international. She has had participants from Israel, New Zealand, and Scotland, as well as all over the US and Canada. So, Karen, on with the show. I am so excited to have you here. For anybody who doesn't know, I do want to quickly say I have participated both in some of her group workshops and also in some of her personal one-on-one sessions. So Karen, before we get into your business journey, is there anything else we should know about your sessions?
No, not at all. You did thank you for that beautiful introduction. I think you kind of hit all the points.
Beautiful. Okay, so we're now going to talk about your business journey. So first, how and when did you get started as an entrepreneur? And I'll just package that with what were you doing before being in business with Paint Your Essence? Did you go in all in right away? Did you have a day job? Do you still have a day job? How's that startup progression?
July 12th, 2015 is when I did my very first Paint Your Essence workshop. Prior to that, I dreamt or learned or wanted to be a facilitator for workshops, and I loved art, and I thought, what a way to combine it. And I found a way to combine it, and that's how I created Paint Your Essence. So I didn't really become an entrepreneur until then, although I have been an artist for a lot longer than that. I never really considered that as an entrepreneur. It was more of a hobby. And then about 6 months into me doing Paint Your Essences and kind of fumbling a little bit and trying to figure out how I want to do the classes and watch them kind of progress. And they've changed definitely since the very first one. I was actually sharing that with my sister today when she was in town visiting. And then they kind of grew and became something even better than what they were. But I found it like a business coach to help me, because I would have never, I didn't know what I was kind of doing or how to make it into a business or how to take a hobby into a business. So that was kind of cool. And I do work full-time. I still have a 9-to-5 type job. In fact, it's actually like 9 hours, 10-hour a day that I work on for a studio. And I like feeling comfortable having that roof over my head. So I love knowing that I do have money coming in, and yet I can still do what I love on the side. So even though it feels more and more like a business, and eventually I would love to do only this. And I'm okay with not being there yet to do that.
I gotta say that is part of the point of the business journey interview, is we all do it differently.
Yeah.
And by talking about how we did it, we see that there are different ways of being successful, right?
Right.
And there are a lot of people online who would sell us the overnight success model. If you build it, they will come, which, by the way, great movie. Thank you very much, Kevin Costner. But I'm in business.
Yeah.
And when I started, nobody knew about the Holistic Chamber of Commerce, right? And as I kept it going, it grew and grew and continues to grow and grow. And it's nice, I think, for some people also to see it sometimes makes sense to have a 9 to 5, a bread and butter job, so everything is covered. You don't have to worry. And there are other times when, and I did it the hard way, right? I gave notice. Yeah, I ran to the end of my savings before I said, I got to figure out what's going to work.
Yeah.
And then it was like, I had to figure it out. And I think there are advantages either way you do it, right? It's just, where am I, who am I, and how do I keep figuring it out? Especially when it's about the purpose of what you do, right? Which is what it's about for both of us. Okay, so.
And I guess it helps when you see a friend kind of like what you just described, who like just kind of jumped in and quit and went for it, and see some of the struggles that she went through. I was just like, I don't feel that comfortable going there yet. So.
Yeah, I think that, from my point of view, isn't that the advantage of having all of our network of chapters, right? Is we have people who are colleagues and associates and friends, like-minded, right? So we have a place to talk about the things that come up and ask questions, hear from people about their experience, their insights, their ideas, and recognize that we're all figuring out, we're all throwing spaghetti at the wall, but we get to figure it out together.
Yeah.
So, all right. So now, have you ever hired someone to help as an assistant, maybe as a coach or a consultant?
I have a coach. Oh, I mean, to actually lead the Paint Your Essence, or are you talking? I have hired a couple of different coaches.
Okay.
To help me and guide me. But to work on a Paint Your Essence, no, pretty much I'm the only one that leads them, but I have friends who are so kind enough to volunteer and assist me when I've had bigger groups. They pretty much ran the back of the room or took care of like emptying out the water, blow drying the painting, or helping me put out the food because when they were in person, I would supply everything. So they would help me set up the table and set up the supply area with all the paint and so forth. So I actually have like 3 or 4 friends that would help me out occasionally.
Well, I think that's great. Like, especially when you're just getting started, right? Yep. Or just starting to grow, it's helpful to have people who are willing to support you and either give you a freebie or maybe do it in exchange for a freebie, right? I'll help you do this if I can get a free massage later or a free session later. And that actually brings up another question. Sorry, I'm going to jump forward in the interview. I was going to ask about COVID later, but so when you jumped from in-person workshops and sessions to online Zoom or whatever you use, workshops and sessions, did you change your pricing at all?
Yes, I did. Because when I started doing them on Zoom, I realized people can use whatever they have at home. Even though it's called Paint Your Essence, they can use crayons, they can use markers. I even had somebody do collaging, like they made collages and still shared what came up for them. So you can do anything and use anything in order to come to my Paint Your Essence. And because of that, I felt like I didn't feel comfortable. And plus, since it was COVID, I wanted to help people with, the money, and I wanted them to still come, and I still wanted them to earn something, but I didn't want them to feel like it was so expensive they can't come. And what was important to me is to maintain the creativity, because I know that it keeps me out of my funk, like feeling like sorry for myself or whatnot. So I figured if I charge a little bit, it will keep, and they'll stay out of their funk and their pity parties or feeling sorry for themselves or anger about COVID taking over their lives, or feeling trapped or whatever they might be feeling at the time. So
I think that's perfect, right? That's the purpose of Paint Your Essence. And so healing and transformation. So I'm going to use this as my opportunity to show off one of my paintings that I did at one of my early Paint Your Essence sessions. I think it was a one-on-one session, and the theme was the Yellow Brick Road.
yes.
And so this is what we ended up with. So Paint Your Essence is really about make it personal. So whatever the theme is, you're really, how are you guided? So right, I consider my father and mother to be fire and water. So I started with some fire and water, and then there's the Yellow Brick Road, which for me is different colors. And then we were running out of time. We were close to the end of the session. So, of course, as you can see, and by the way, I'm a recovering control freak. So this was part of the process. Was I used a lot of control in the bottom. And then when I got to the point where I was running out of time, and I thought, where is the Yellow Brick Road taking me? It was all green. It was a bit messy, losing control, right? That's part of the process of the HCC getting bigger and bigger, is that the recovering control freak has to let go of more control. I have to invite in more people, more staff, consultants, and of course all of our members and chapter presidents, to let it show up the way it needs to show up for them. So anyways, there you go. Just my personal example of a painting from Paint Your Essence. All right, so now let's get back to your business journey.
Can I just say, the one thing that I want to say is that Paint Your Essence is really an opportunity to learn a little bit about yourself and yet have fun. So like I pick a different theme every month, and then that's what we paint about, but it gives you a little fun time to take care of you for 2.5 hours, and for you to like get to that place of even half of your is control and half isn't, is like what you did that in like 2 hours, I think, or whatever. It was just like, I mean, how could you not? Hashtag this works.
And like, I'm a recovery, so not just a recovering control freak, a recovering workaholic.
Yeah.
I definitely used to be the type of person that it was all work all the time. And if I was just playing, I wasn't being productive, so it didn't count.
Right.
But that's not success.
Yeah.
Success is having the time and the money to also enjoy my life, to enjoy my friends and my friendships, right? Mm-hmm. So Paint Your Essence for me did really open the doors to that type of healing and transformation. I mean, heck, there was a time when I never would have had Brad Pitt hanging out with me. Who would have thought? Okay, so now I want to know, Has there been one big challenge that came up as you were growing that you would be willing to share? And of course, how you overcame it or a lesson learned?
I'm not sure if it's really a lesson that I learned about being in business or an entrepreneur, but it's something personal in the sense that, um, like, I can bump into walls. Like, if I want something for Paint Your Essence, I bump into the wall, but I see other possibilities. I see other opportunities, and I'm like, oh, but what if I do it this way? Sort of like with the whole COVID thing. What if I do Zoom? Oh, look what happened. People like were jumping on and coming from all over the world. And now I'm international, so how it's like, whoa. But like my 9 to 5, when I want to be promoted or get a better position or move up, I hit walls and there's no other vision of other opportunities or possibilities. Like, it's like, oh, I can't walk around the wall this way. I can't even go this way. I can't go this, so I feel more trapped. So I think that is my biggest lesson, to see like, wow, there are possibilities everywhere. So now I'm trying to incorporate my own stuff into my 9 to 5 in that way.
Oh, I think that's perfect and that's great. And okay, so now, what tips do you have for someone who's just starting out or maybe stuck on the way to a big goal?
Tips would be definitely reach out and ask other people. I mean, if you trust somebody else, how did they do it? And be open to knowing that what they have is information, and not, even if you're feeling like it's criticism, receive it and know that what's right for yourself. Camille and I talk occasionally about different ideas, and just because it worked for her doesn't mean it's going to work for me. So, and vice versa. But we give each other ideas. So that's what I would definitely keep your mind open for, what works for you and what works for other people, so you can either pick it up or do it differently. I think, sort of like with the Paint Your Essence, I kind of was taught by somebody else and it wasn't really working for me, so I made it my own. I kind of took the idea of personal growth in art, but I made it more, this works, this flows, and not this, because I don't understand this.
So that is actually a nice segue into the experience, insights, and ideas. So Karen noticed, I don't know, on one of our previous calls, that I have the big banner in my background, and she made a tabletop banner that she can now put in her background. So, take a look when you are on a Zoom call or an online meeting and consider, is there something going on that might make sense for me to try and arrange in my back? Like I used to work with, I used to work like everybody else with either nothing in the background or clutter in the background. And then at one point I saw a bunch of people with like bookshelves, right? And just things that were really relevant to them and purposeful in their background. And then I was like, oh, is there a way to set up my banner? And I think your smaller tabletop banner is great. Like almost anybody could do that. So how big is it?
I think this one was the 11 by 14 or, yeah. So.
Right, so it's not big, it's not gonna take up much room, and at the same time, whether you are the featured guest or just there on the Zoom call, it's an easy way for people to see, oh, her business is Paint Your Essence and her name is Karen Sachs, which means, right, that they can easily go Google you or your business and maybe find you and connect with you after the meeting.
Yeah.
And that's even if you're not speaking, people can see that, right? Um, so just, I like that. And I think that's the point of why we do what we do and why we talk about the business journey, experience, insights, and ideas.
Yeah.
That's what collaboration is about, is sharing. Okay, now you mentioned that art used to be a hobby and you made it into a business. So, do you have any tips for anybody who's kind of caught in the mix of, do I want to turn my hobby into a side hustle? Do I want to turn my hobby into a business? Other than the most obvious tip, which is join the Holistic Chamber of Commerce.
What the coach did for me was help me see the business aspects and learn what it does to have a funnel, or to know who's your client, who's your perfect client. Because I didn't know any of those, and I'm thinking, well, everybody's perfect for this, but no, not everybody. And I've learned that a little bit these past couple years too, where it's not for everybody. A Paint Your Essence isn't for everybody. But I think in some ways, having a coach might be a good start if you can find one that's within your price range and you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I've used coaches off and on, and definitely finding one that's in my price range and one who has what I'm looking for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And remember that a good coach is a good salesperson. So just because they tell you they're good for you, you're the one who's spending your money. So
Right.
make sure that you really feel that that's right on. And then last but not least, so we're in business, you're in business, we've got to get the word out, right? What are some of your favorite ways of, getting the word out about Paint Your Essence? Do you have a favorite social media? Do you do email marketing, website? What's that look like for you?
I actually, the past year, I've really got into doing my weekly newsletter. It's been kind of fun because at first I thought that was going to be a pain, but I'm enjoying being vulnerable. I've been enjoying telling my story. I feel like I get about 25% people opening it based off of how many are supposed to be like receiving it. I think that's pretty good. I'm sure. I mean, of course, I would love more. And yes, I'm having more fun with it. And what I do is, like, between the topics of each month's workshop, I talk about it. So each week it's a little bit different, but it's still about the theme of the next Paint Your Essence coming up. So that's my favorite way. I use Eventbrite to purchase the tickets, and then I now with my new website have connected it so people can sign up through my website, and it goes to Eventbrite. I loved it too because then they allowed you to post on Facebook to create an event that way. So that was great. But now you can't do some stuff that I'm not sure I'm really happy about, but at least it still invites people who don't get the newsletter, who don't read it. Or I've recently found some people that, oh, I found you on Facebook. So I still want to keep doing it that way. I don't really post that much on Instagram. I do my art, but not the classes. So yeah, those are the main things that I do and find really easy to do because it's a system now. I've done it over and over again. So it's just like, oh, gotta go do this. Gotta go write my
The first couple of times you do things, it's like, but once you kind of get used to it,
yeah,
then it's like, oh, okay. And it takes less time, right?
Yeah, right.
Used to take me an hour or half an hour and then only 15 minutes and then 5, because I kind of got it down into, this is how it goes, this is how it works. And of course, for me, as the business grows, I'm able to hire, well, now staff, but originally, right, we had unpaid interns, and then consultants. So there are ways to kind of step up as you get busier. And of course, the longer you're on, especially with social media, also email lists, typically the longer you're doing it and the more consistent you are, the bigger your audience goes. So, instead of one post going to 100 people, maybe one post goes to 10,000 people.
Right.
Yay. Or, 100,000. Like, there you go. I still have goals.
What I was just going to go back to this whole coach idea too, because I don't think I would have known to like which program was the best one to sign up for, or how to kind of even start doing a newsletter and build my list and all that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of going back to that thought of, sometimes having that coach, even if it's like for 6 months or something, it's kind of nice to learn what you can so you can do it.
Yeah, that's also a great reminder when it comes to coaches. Start with a coach, use them for as long as it makes sense, but recognize they're going to want you to keep renewing ongoingly. And at a certain point, you're going to be the one who has to say, it fit while it lasted, and now I've learned everything I need to learn. Maybe I'll come back to this coach, or maybe I'll go to a new coach later, but now I need to start applying and implementing all of the, juicy ideas that
Right.
I've received, right? I can't think of too many coaches that really should be a lifetime coach, even when you love them. Though I do consider you in some ways to be a coach through the artwork, right?
Right.
And, but this is very different than business coaching.
Right.
So, okay, so we're about to wrap up the interview. Is there anything else, any last top tip that you want to add?
Well, yeah, so many people tell me I'm not creative. You know what? It's almost better that you're not creative. And creativity to me it can be anything. Like my 9-to-5 boss is so good with spreadsheets and math and budgets and stuff like that. To me, that's her creativity. So it's like, it could even be the direction you drive, or the it could be anything. It doesn't have to be fine arts or music or and that writing a song, writing a poem. That doesn't have to be creativity. Where I was going with this was, okay, so I think people should try it, because it opens doors in your mind to think of yourself differently or see yourself differently. It gives you other possibilities, because I'm all about what else is possible in life. I mean, that's what I'm doing prompting in the group Paint Your Essences. I put questions out there, so you're thinking as you're painting, so you can kind of see what's going on in your own life and what that might look like. And that way you get to walk away with a artwork and go, oh my God, this is who I am when I'm happy. I mean, can you imagine walking by a painting that makes you happy? That you can remind yourself that you're happy all the time? Yeah. So just because you think you don't have creative bone in your body, you do. Everybody does. It's just how you look at it.
Yeah, well, it took me a little while to realize that even entrepreneurs, right, there is a creativity to building a business.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
People don't, they wouldn't think of it as a creative process, but it is definitely a creative process. So, all right. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everybody.